Hello, 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 all you gorgeous people, and welcome to episode 3 of Summoner's Rift Radio. You've got myself, Suho, and joined with Zippo, of course, our other lovely co-host. And today we have a special guest appearance. We have BloodedKiller5. Blooded, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone?
Everyone knows me as Blooded or BloodedKiller5, BK5, all the same thing to me. But I've been playing League for about 10 years or so. I've done some coaching. I've played in different competitive scenes. I've got pretty decent knowledge of League, so yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're happy to have you on. We've prepared we've prepared a few questions for him. Myself and Zippo will rattle them off. We'll have a wee discussion about answers. Chat, you're very welcome to put any questions you have for Blooded specifically, but any three of us really. And we'll look at getting to them throughout the podcast. But for now, Zippo has question number 1. Take it away, brother.
We'll start you off with something deep and meaningful.
Okay.
I was hoping to get your thoughts on Riot's intentions for how this season started and how well you think they actually executed on their intentions for this season.
Okay, well, I think overall the intentions has gone well. Obviously, the first couple patches of the season was quite rough and unbalanced.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the way they're changing the dynamic of the game is in a good way. Like, assassins are assassins, tanks are tanks.
Okay.
I feel like they're going in the right direction, and I think after a few more patches, I believe this season might actually be better than the last few seasons, in my opinion.
Okay. Good to hear another positive outlook on the new season, because I was kind of the same. I think coming into this season, I looked at what they were trying to do and went, it all sounds great, we'll see how it goes. Obviously, Riot tends to make a mess of things at the start of a season, but so far, it honestly is looking to be a pretty new and exciting change of pace for League, I think.
Yeah, I think as we've said in previous casts, the identity of champions and what their roles are in the game are coming a lot back to what they should be, whereas previous seasons, tanks have felt like assassins and ADCs have felt like assassins, and everyone's kind of felt like an assassin because everything kind of just does damage, while then bruises and everything are too tanky. This season it's definitely feeling like they're getting on track to ADCs are doing what they should do, tops are tanks, all that kind of thing, so it's definitely happy to see. For yourself specifically, Blooded, with the roles that you play, is the season treating you well or not so much?
Well, I've been mixed around in mid ADC and support, so I've got a few different thoughts on it. I think mid has been pretty solid, honestly. I think mid is in a much better state than it was for quite a while. I think there's still a few problems here and there, but I think mid's pretty solid. I think AD carry, it's a very strong role if you're playing as a team and in fives.
Mm-hmm.
But in solo queue, it feels very underwhelming, probably because of all the damage in the game, hard to coordinate with everybody.
Yep.
And then support feels actually quite strong. I think support is one of the strongest roles at the moment, if not the strongest.
Yep. Yeah, and I think due to the item changes and again the identity of how they want this season to go, I think they've done a great job in making supports feel like supports, like they have a place. Supports should be Norless every game, says Chat. Chat, shut up.
Well,
We don't need to see that.
Yeah. Alright, well, let's move on to our next question for you then, Blooded.
well,
We're curious. 3 pieces of advice that anyone, coaches, players, friends have given you towards League that you try to play by each game. Something that's stuck with you over your career, over your many years.
Yeah. So there's 2 main things in gameplay for me. When I was playing a lot of competitive and my friends watched me, all that stuff, I was getting flamed a lot for my map awareness and my farming.
Okay.
So I just buckled down and I focused on those 2 specifically. It took a long time, but eventually I've gotten to the state where I'm pretty comfortable with it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I got flamed a lot for those two. It was not
So
great.
how would you say you trained yourself on those things? Like, what personally did you do that worked for you to really increase your understanding of
I
these
played a
things?
lot more normals. By playing a lot of normals, I didn't care about like trading as much, all of the other different mechanics about the game. I focused purely on watching the map and farming. That's it. Even if the gameplay itself was bad, I hard focus on those 2 points specifically, and then later on merge everything together.
Fantastic. Zippo, on the
That's
topic
actually
of
pretty good advice, I think.
yeah, on
And
the
would
topic
highly
of
recommend
advice,
to anyone wanting to get better.
100%. On the topic of advice, while we're here, Zippo, anything that you've had, just off the top of your head.
Oh gosh, off the top of my head, I think the best piece of advice I ever got was to stop giving respect to people for free. Treat every game as though you're better than your opponent, and then try to back it up.
Awesome.
I think limit testing is
And
one of the reasons I got to where I was as a player, and yeah.
and my third one was don't let previous games affect your next game. Always try and have a short little break or do something that works for you to reset. Because
Well, Suho and I talked on this a little bit as well, and mental health is definitely #1 priority when it comes to League, and will impact you in League.
yeah,
So-
like one of the things that I do quite a bit is just go to the bathroom and just splash my face with some water,
Yeah.
and it actually really does help.
Yeah, I know a lot of players that have pre-game rituals or something they do before every game, even just solo queue games. You know, a swig of a drink, a walk outside, a fresh, breath of fresh air. Just little things that kind of just
Bit of chalky milk.
reset you. Yeah, but a chalky milk, bro. The things that just give you a quick reset that just get you back in the zone, forget the last game, and just biggest thing is just not autopiloting after a very tilting game because they happen to everyone. You'll have a bad game. You know, it is what it is. And that brings me to the advice that I'd been given is it's, you know, you brought it up just then, Blooded, but it's the same. Just completely forget what anybody or anyone has said in the previous game. Forget how bad you did, or maybe not forget it, but in your next game, you know, think about what the things you were doing wrong and just make sure that you know, not running it down again. So, very
Give yourself
important.
enough of a mental reset to sort of move on from that game emotionally.
100%.
And then,
And
come to the next game with solutions rather than frustration.
Yeah, everyone needs to remember /mute all is there every game.
Oof, wow.
When you are actually trying to climb and genuinely just don't want to give a shit what anyone is saying, it is one of the most impactful tools to better your bloody mental health while you're playing this game or just any game in general, and 2, to just focus on the game and make sure you're playing correctly. Just mute all. Most of the shit that people say in solo queue is irrelevant anyway, so just, you know,
Yep.
play the game. Yeah.
I was
Okay.
going to say, maybe changing my answer, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was turning my chat box as small as it can go, straight off the bat, in the client.
Yeah.
It's so hard to look at, you don't even notice it half the time.
Put it
unless
tiny,
people are
top right
typing over
corner or
Storm.
top
Yeah.
left, you know, bottom left
Yeah,
corner.
it's
Just get it out of the way.
fantastic,
Yeah. No, it's very good. Budget has put in chat, I haven't muted after all 8 permabanned accounts.
Oh, I wonder why.
Disable chat in settings. Big brain. Very good, very good. Okay, we've got our first quickfire question for you, Blooded. And then after this quickfire question, if there's any questions in chat, we'll look at getting some of them in there. So pop them through now while Blooded's answering. So our first question is, I want you to rank all of the roles in order of difficulty and then rank them all in order of impact in the game.
Oh, okay, so hardest first.
Yep.
This would be a good one.
So the hardest role. Okay, is this as a solo queue?
Yeah, we're just
standpoint?
talking, just you go into a game of solo queue, which role is most difficult?
Okay, straight up in solo queue, I think it's AD carry.
Yeah.
I think because of the lack of communication, it's just a lot harder to play around an AD carry like every other role. Like it's just very difficult to play it, in my opinion.
Yep.
So AD carry will be #1. The second, ooh, yeah, that's a tough one. Well, I would put support as the easiest, so top and bottom.
Oh! Okay.
I think the second hardest is actually jungle.
Okay.
It's actually it's a pretty simple role in concept, but there's so many different little things involved with that role, and like everybody flames you. Everybody.
I'll mention having picked up jungle again recently. I think it's a lot easier to throw on jungle than it is on a lot of other roles at the moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's because of the increased agency they've got in these games now, but also they still feel a little bit more behind in terms of solo laners, in terms of XP, gold, etc. So
Yeah. So overall, I would go ADC, jungle, mid, top, support.
Okay.
From hardest to easiest.
I don't like you, but fair enough.
You know, like,
Just the fact you put support bot. Just me being salty.
come on, it's one of the easiest roles. You'd probably
you see
agree.
top mid jungle.
Mechanically, maybe. I'll give it to you. Okay, and then the impact that the 5 roles have again in solo queue.
Impact. Okay, well, jungle always has the most impact. Like, they control the map.
Yep.
That's pretty obvious to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think the way the mid lane works now, I think mid is probably second because they can get quite strong very easily, rotate around, impact the map once again. Then it will probably be support because they can also roam for the grubs and rotate around all that.
Yep.
Then it's probably top, then ADC, in my opinion.
Yep. I think the only thing I'd swap is support and mid. Just because I think
probably.
Yeah, I think the support roaming is a wee bit bigger, especially with grubs coming into the game. But yeah, I think top ADC, kind of low impact, at least in solo queue, in regards to where they are on the map and how much they really do. Of course, you get an insanely fed top laner, they will normally just kind of roll over a game at the moment, and if an ADC scales enough and has the right team comp, they again will. But yeah, I agree with you. I think jungle, sub mid, definitely rather important roles. Yep. Cool. Don't have any chat questions, so Zippo, on to the next question.
Well, I guess next up, what have you really enjoyed watching most about pro play this season so far, if you've been watching at all?
I've watched bits and pieces. Now, I wouldn't really say enjoy. Well, I've enjoyed watching it, obviously, but I haven't been enjoying it as much as previous years because, to me, all the champs that are getting picked feel very stale to me. It is nearly the same things over and over and over. There's a few changes here and there, but a good 80% of the games is the same champion pool.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it's just feeling a little stale to me personally.
Yeah, I think I don't disagree. I mean, I think you just have to look at stats for the top 3 champions in top lane. You know, Aatrox, Cassante, and it's slipping my mind right now, Udyr, I think it was. You know, and they're not exactly the most exciting champions most of the time, especially when laning against each other, because a lot of time they're stalemates. So, yeah, I definitely agree. A lot of the picks, you're seeing the same kind of bot matchups. There are a few teams and there are a few players. You know, you look at people like BDS Adam, and you know, other players, especially in the LEC, that kind of have their niche picks or their exciting picks. But I tend to agree that a lot of the games are very just, that team got these champions, they kind of win, or, you know, how does this matchup go? Exactly the same as the other 50 games that it's been played, sort of thing. So, we love Ezekiel.
It always comes back. I'm so sick of it.
Yeah,
yes.
But then you get the players like Furia and that who bring out, like Kajimo said, Israel and Nico Sups and stuff like that. So there are definitely games out there at the moment that are exciting. If you're watching all of them, it's obviously going to be better. But I think as a whole, if you kind of picked a sample of 10 games, you're very likely that 9 of them are going to be the same kind of 10 champions at the moment. And I think that's just those champs are strong. Hopefully patches will change that soon.
Yep.
Yeah.
On the note of... Sorry, carry on.
It is nice to start seeing Ezreal starting to pop off now, though.
Yeah.
Personally. I really enjoy watching Ezreal play, and he's been starting to pick up. A lot of teams were being really bad with him for a while, but now people are getting in practice with him, and that has been...
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Watching
NA
this...
definitely has a history of being a little interesting with the pick.
So we're
when it
really
comes
bringing
to
the NA
more
flame in,
about
huh?
popularity, but
Yeah, it's
I
nice
mean, you
to
watch
see.
Korea pull it off, and when it's meta, it looks amazing.
Oh.
But
Oh yeah, it's very.
you watch
Fun-
NA
fun
pull it off,
champ.
and it kind of misses the mark a little.
Yeah, like you're saying, I mean, it's always been picked as this kind of just safe bot lane pick, like kind of like, oh, what do we really, you know, every ADC's banned, what do we pick? Ah, let's try Israel. But now it actually looks like, let's pick Israel for Israel.
Yeah, champion has a
and
bit of weight
it's
behind
looking
him.
nice. And it's a champion from that when I first started watching pro play back in season, 3 in that Winners W is completely different, and you would see him in the jungle eventually and stuff like that. It was a champion that in pro play has always been fun to see good players pilot, because it's such a high skill cap champion if you really think about what he has to do to output damage compared to your traditional ADCs. On the topic of pro play, Blooded, do you think that pro teams are adapting to the meta well and kind of working it all out? Things like grubs and first drakes and things like that?
Somewhat yes. From the games that I have seen, I haven't watched all games or anything, so it's only a small sample size. But I think like most games that I've seen, dragons seem more important. On paper, grubs are better, and I would agree with that. But most of the teams that are getting the dragons early are the ones winning the games, from what I've seen. So I'm kind of curious Zippo's thought on that.
I mean, yeah, I kind of don't disagree with anything you just said. I'm sort of thinking about it, and
I know you're a grub lover.
yeah, look, I absolutely love the addition of grubs. It gives you something to fight for on the top side of the map early game, like consistently if you want. It gives you something to trade over, and it kind of unleashes my Darius jungle. So I absolutely love it, but I don't know, I think a lot of teams just haven't really picked up to the priority.
Do you think it's
if that makes sense? Yeah.
Would that be because of the drafts, or would that be because in pro play 5's meta and stuff like that, playing through bot is better?
So I think it's a bit of both, actually. I think you're seeing a lot of teams opt for the approach of, well, the other team's going to put this hard pro on grubs, so what can we do around that? And they're happy to give an early grub play for an early bot side play, because it'll just up you in terms of golden tempo and sort of gives you an opening onto the next grubs anyway. But I just don't think they're executing it well enough. They're not like getting the timings right, they're not having their backs right. People just aren't used to it yet, I don't think.
I think a big impacting thing in it is you can see with a lot of drafts is that a lot of it's going to that late game point where Soul is going to be a big impacting force, and a lot of teams are giving first grubs and like you say, playing for the first couple of dragons, and then you only need to take one, two, even one grub, and it makes it a lot weaker, and it kind of nullifies those early grubs, right? So you just play these later game scaling comps, you play for the first couple of dragons, you deny a couple of grubs, and then you're up 2 dragons. The team has 4 grubs, which is nice, but nowhere near as impactful as the 2 dragons, and then you've got a comp scaling harder. And so I think a lot of teams are really working out, like you say, they're very new to the game. Obviously the meta and the play around them is going to evolve, but yeah, I think a lot of teams are kind of working it out, and it's quite fun to watch. Awesome.
I mean, I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I think there's
more fighting, yay!
Yeah. Did anyone watch the clip of the grubs in the LEC that ran all the way top lane and hit the tower?
No.
Yes.
It was the funniest thing. They got locked onto whoever leashed, and they ran all the way top lane.
A little bit
they
spawned.
At the moment. I think they spawned their little grubbies, and they all just attacked one tower and then ran back to bed.
Wow.
I was watching Yankos get towered over by a grub the other day under mid tower.
So funny.
Dude just wouldn't leave him alone.
yeah. Some of the aggro, it's quite hilarious. Yeah. All right, cool. Blooded. Some advice, please, for new players to either League or especially those kind of just getting into ranked and just getting into the more serious side of it.
That is a hard one to answer for people that have many years of experience.
We just want to say run.
Yeah, pretty much. We pretty much do. But like,
but without saying run, how do we help them?
Yeah, like we said earlier, the best thing you should do if you're looking to get into rank for the first time, have fun and whatnot, mute the chat. Just mute it. Don't get into the toxicity early. Later on, it can be a little bit fun to get into it, but it's best if you want to actually just have some fun. And also for the first rank season, don't take it too seriously. You don't have to play hundreds and hundreds of games trying to peak or anything on your first season. Just play a little bit here and there at your own pace. And then on the next split, you can try and work for a goal a little bit higher.
Yep, I like that. I think, and this kind of wraps back to the advice, but when you first play ranked, especially when you're in lower ranks or your earlier ranks of it, play to improve, don't play to win. Because through improvement, you're going to eventually get better. Naturally, you're going to just win more games through performing better. But it's the best environment for you to learn, although low ranks can be a little bit fiesta, best environment for you to learn how the game really works, how good some players can be, and how you can better yourself to obviously climb higher than them. So when you go into every ranked game, of course, win-loss is going to feel better or worse, but make sure that each game you are getting something out of it that you can improve on, something out of it that you can work on, something you did well, sort of thing. Every game should be about improvement and not just I'm queuing ranked to play ranked. That's if you're, genuinely quite serious about climbing. It's about the mindset when you go into each game. And Zippo hitting, a multiple season challenger player, obvious, not so much now, but when he was in his prime, he'll tell you the same
Good old
thing.
days. I'm old man hands now.
He'll tell you similar
Grandpa
things.
Zippo.
I mean, yeah. No, I kid. He's there's glimmers of peak Zippo.
Sometimes it's not so bad.
Make that feel real old.
It's a little
now.
50-50.
Blooded, you're like 24. It's fine. We won't tell anyone.
29.
I was gonna not tell anyone how old you really were.
I'm so old now.
No, very good. All right, we're on to our next quickfire question.
I
Zippo?
guess next thing I really want to know, but
Yep.
is if there was anything you could change to sort of make the game better in your opinion right now, what would you change and why?
Okay, so this refers back to the first podcast where I had a question that got not heated, but got into a bit more. I really, really, really hate the death timers.
I was expecting.
Okay.
Like, it's just so frustrating to be able to kill your laner and then they get back quicker than you. I really hate that.
Mm-hmm.
I understand controlling waves is good. You can affect things. You teleport. I don't care about all that. I'm just as a baseline, even if it was just a 2-3 second nerf. Yeah, just a 2-3 second nerf is enough for you to kill your lane, shove it back, and then you spawn. They spawn about the same time you back.
Yeah.
The thing is, this serves a purpose too, and the reason for that is it was way too easy to snowball back when death timers were a little bit more punishing, and obviously
with the
people won't be
dynamics
happy with
changed
that.
now.
I think they've
I
gone
feel like it could be nerfed
too far. Yeah.
I think you're
it
right.
doesn't-
Probably.
It doesn't need to be changed a lot. 2 or 3 seconds is enough, and that's not gonna break the game.
No, I just know Riot's going to be a little hesitant moving back in that direction. Back when, obviously, the game was in way too much of a snowbally state, and games are effectively over at the 5-10 minute mark, depending on certain matchups. And
But the reason why it's why inting Scion became a thing, because timers kept getting shorter, and because of the way Scion passive works, is that your death timer starts when the passive starts.
Yeah.
So he can literally just die, kill the wave anyway, and then instantly respawn.
Yeah.
And then he gets back to lane and punishes you because you have to shove him back.
It is definitely a frustrating thing to
it's good fun.
Yeah, it's frustrating versing a 0.5 Scion who has, 10 CS per minute and 7,000 health. at
Yeah.
12 minutes sort of thing. Obviously exaggerated, but
Yeah.
no, I definitely understand. And it was funny because I remembered your comment from our first cast, and then I was in a game recently, and we'd won a bot lane 2v2, and then their bot lane were just there, and I was like, we just killed you guys. No, it feels like you should not be here. It feels like we did not get to do anything kind of, with the wave or hit the tower at all, and they were just kind of like, hello, we're back. And I was kind of like, do I really want to be flashing on them level 2 in lane anymore if it kind of feels like, did I really get that much out of this? Am I a lot better just zoning for 5 minutes rather than actually getting a double kill? It got me a bit thinking about it. But, I think there would definitely be room for a couple of seconds added, possibly.
Yeah.
Or, maybe in specific situations, I'm not sure. But I agree that it feels a little bit too short. And Scion in general just pisses me off. So the fact that it really adds to it. We've got Raven in chat. To be fair, I think Scion, as an example, is screwed at the moment. He isn't picked often at all in general because he is not very good and currently only has the inting Scion path to take.
Yeah, well, that is true. But the thing is, you can still do this on other champions. If you, in top lane, if you shove in the wave and then proxy a wave and die, it takes too long for the enemy to push the next wave and then get it to the tower.
Yeah.
Even if you just playing like Olaf, for example, you die, you can just run back to lane before the wave gets in.
Yeah.
Sion's just...
It's almost better and quicker to die and get back to lane than it is to try to recall anywhere.
It is. It is actually better to die.
I think when the mechanic in the game is dying is better than safely recalling, there might be something a little bit wrong there. Because after death, do you get a home guard effect after a death?
I think you do,
yeah. That's what makes it, right? Like, you get these early deaths and then you're faster, right? And then that's
also... I think it's 4 or 5 minutes or something.
I think it's something, and I think that's why it really adds to this short death timer, takes too long to shove in a wave, you get a movement speed buff back to lane. Like, it just feels like it's... recalling is 8 seconds, dying is, I think the death time is early, similar
like
or less, and then you get movement speed, and it's kind of like, why recall?
It definitely does feel a little bit strange to be able to solo kill your enemy laner in mid at level 2, and then not even be able to push the wave fully before they're back at mid tower, and sort of just like,
because then you kind of ruin your waves, and you're like, so I've lost.
It's like, okay, they're gonna freeze on me. The jungler's gonna gank me. I've got no sums now because I just used them in the all-in.
Yep, and
then the game gets 10 times harder for you because you decided to kill him level 2. What were you thinking?
Come on, Matt. Why are you solo killing?
Come on, dude. You're better than this. Yeah.
Yeah. Stop being mechanically better and just be macro better. Come on, guy. But yeah, I think that it's such a big, like you say, it's weird concept, and it's just such a mind boggle at the moment of is it really worth it? Cuttlefish has got a question, so we will give him a second to... Yeah, he's got the question. We'll let him quickly pop it in the chat. While he's doing that, Blooded, I have another wee quick fire question for you. This one is a love or hate champions. So I'm going to list out 10 champions one at a time. You're going to just, off the top of your head, love them or hate them, or like them or dislike them, sort of thing. But we're just going to say love or hate, okay? So, first champion, and I 100% know the answer to this. Fizz?
Hate.
Cool. Cassante?
Or... hate.
Cool. Soraka?
Love.
Cool. Hecarim?
Love.
Malphite?
Love.
Jhin?
Love.
Misfortune?
Love.
Rengar?
Hate.
Dr. Mundo?
Hate.
And our good friend we were just talking about, Scion?
Hate.
Very good. I think you're about 5 for 5 if I counted correctly there, so good mix of champs. Awesome. Okay, so Ben's question has just come through. Thoughts on this as a new mechanic? Teleport removed as a summoner spell. Everyone gets teleport similar to where wards are on your UI. Is that... So you're saying, like, okay, so each time you use it, the CDR goes up by 1 minute, starting at 5 minutes.
everyone gets a teleport similar to where wards are on.
Basically, there'll be a
Okay.
teleport button you can click on and use.
Yeah, like your trinket.
Yeah. Okay.
So everyone gets a free teleport, but it gets longer and longer the more you.
I would assume that you can't use it until, like, 5 minutes into the game or something, or are you saying that it's available instantly with a 5-minute cooldown?
I
mean, available instantly with a 5-minute cooldown would be fine, and then it adds up every time. So if you're using it level 1, you're not using it until level 6 minutes odds again, which is dragon timers.
5-minute CDR.
It's interesting.
Because you get your one free back, everybody.
Yeah.
Early game, and then you can. The only concern with this, in my opinion, is some sort of backdooring plays.
Yeah.
If all 5 have access to TP, that would be broken. That's my
maybe
concern.
you make it a TP only to towers or something like that.
I think this would be fine if it was a rune.
Yeah.
If this was a rune, I could see it being somewhat okay, but it would have to be on a tree that's not normally taken.
Yeah. That as a rune, it sounds too powerful though. But then as something that everyone
It would probably have
has,
to be a keystone.
yeah, as a keystone, it would be interesting. Zippo, I'm not sure if you heard, but Cuttlefish has put in a what if, and his question is, what if everybody had teleport available to them? It was removed as a summoner spell. Everyone had teleport available to them with a 5-minute cooldown, and each use increased that cooldown by a minute.
As in, like, an extra trinket spot.
Yeah, it's intriguing.
Yeah. Because obviously you're going to have a lot more fighting lanes due to those teleporter summoner spells. The thing I think you'd lose out a lot of is early aggression in lanes. Or not so much that, but it comes to those death timer issues of if you get early 2v2 kills in the bot lane, you're not going to really gain much from it because they revive TP back and they haven't lost anything,
Yeah. I definitely think it puts an emphasis on scaling champions.
Yeah.
Just giving a free TP feels kind of like it doesn't sound too insane, but then you got to account for the fact that you're now giving that champion 2 defensive summoner spells in lane, so they're a lot safer. It's just much harder to punish.
I think you just have to look at
champions,
things like your mages bot lane, like especially you look at your Ziggs and that who in lane early get bullied, but have to kind of take that TP to not lose out on farm or anything like that. If you're giving this guy also a combat sum and then that teleport as well, everyone's just going to start playing the scaling mages bot lane as well, sort of thing, because they get away with being hit early and then get to scale up. So it's an interesting thought. And honestly, it would be. I don't know how it would work out, but I think it's interesting.
They would definitely have to incentivize early game fighting a little bit somehow, another way, because otherwise it would just skew too heavily towards scaling champions. But I think it's a very interesting suggestion.
Yeah, and the scaling timer on it, meaning it definitely becomes. You're going to get some odd timers with people having it up for drakes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think
you'll get some pretty creative uses out of it.
I think it'll just become far too much about the macro of teleports. I mean, you look at a team fight, and a lot of the time, if enemy top laner and mid have TP compared to you only having 1, you can almost guarantee they kind of win the macro because of where they can be. If you're giving all 5 people on each team kind of TP, macro knowledge is going, or the macro skill required is going to fucking skyrocket. It's gonna be so. I don't know. I think it's
also, to be honest, what would end up probably happening is you'd have teams coordinating their 5-man TPs for objectives.
Yeah.
So that they're always on the same timer. They can always use them. Yeah.
I mean, it definitely adds a skill ceiling, but I don't know if it's a good one. What if it's a one-off TP? What if everyone just gets a one-off TP in the entire game? Does that kind of change?
That would be better. I would like that a lot.
See, I like that.
Put that as a rune or something. Instead of a stopwatch, you have a one-off TP and a rune. Something like that could be a. So if you really get fucked level 1, you get dove level 1 and absolutely need to get back to your tower. if you want to use your one-off TP, go for it, sort of thing, you know. Or if you want to save it the entire game and backdoor with it, go for it. But like maybe a one-off TP could be an option.
I actually really like that idea. I think that would help a lot of champions that are struggling.
Do you still remove it from summoner spells though, or do you add it and just have this additional one-off TP that you can only take?
I was going to say, if you're going to add it to a rune, you could probably
you could
incentivize the rune as like giving it a charge that sort of sits there throughout the game. So you have your normal TP that you use on cooldown, and then you have this extra charge that's just on standby, and you can use it if you know what I mean. So yeah, you have that one-time extra use.
I was going to say the rune was locked out if you take TP.
But what if you get this free TP, what if it had its own charge system where every certain amount of farm, you can TP again?
Yeah.
Or it just lowers the timer of your cooldown of your cooldown on TP by a little bit every couple of creeps.
Yeah, or takedowns also reduce it a little bit or something like.
Or something like distance travel. You have to actually
sort of
move
incentivize lower cooldown TPs, but only if you can make things happen with them. Yeah.
It's definitely interesting, and I like it a lot because it changes up the game a lot. And
I could definitely change the tempo.
I think giving TP to every role would be beneficial, and you know, and obviously both teams get it, so it's not like it's going to favor one team. But yeah, it would be that worry of making it too broken or too scale or too.
Yeah, there's so many variables that would be either broken or something.
That's right. You kind of run the risk of stopwatch meta kind of thing again.
Yeah. Whereas in the first Dragon fight, everybody Sonya's. Yeah, that was such a toxic bit. Yeah. Let's jump the ADC. Oh, they had a free stopwatch. Woo!
You just hear ding go off like 8 times
the whole fight. Yeah, ding,
20 seconds, and no one dies, and you're just like, what?
So annoying. I'm so glad it's gone.
Cheers, lads.
That was the best change they've done.
Yeah.
Is removing that item.
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe how many games were ended late game because someone bought a stopwatch and got caught, survived, and then turned around.
Yeah.
And just killed everyone.
Yeah.
That's probably why Vi is doing so good right now.
True. I like that shout. Not a lot of stopwatches, because that was the biggest way to stop it.
That's true.
Yeah. I think, on the note of the stopwatch then, are we happy with how Seeker's Arm Guard works as a one-off active and its replacement?
I'm very impressed.
Yeah.
I think it's very, very good right now.
I think it's in a very good spot.
I have seen it built on a couple of ADCs as a late game item. You know, one more fight wins and it's their last item. And I think, honestly, if you want to spend 1,600 gold to have that stopwatch, that's fine. But at 700 or 650 or whatever it was at the time, it was too cheap. And then the fact that it built into GA as well meant that most AD champions just sat on one at some point in the game. Yeah, I like what they did with Seekers. I think fantastic change.
Very good.
Cuttlefish said, cheers lads, interesting chat. Keen to see if the next season maybe brings longer CDRs. I'm assuming that's towards teleport, because in general I think the CDR of most abilities this season has gone up.
I was going to say, they've definitely
last season, and I think it's good.
CDR quite a bit this patch, or this season, which is, I think, a very good thing for the game.
Yeah.
Helps them sort of balance numbers a little easier, sort of keeps bruises from getting out of check too easily. So sort of lets them identify each class a bit better, I think.
Yep.
Very sexy take. Alright. Next question, Blooded. How would you pitch the game if you were trying to introduce someone to League, and again you cannot say run?
Sprint.
Alright, he got me.
I think if you're trying to... So this is not to do starting range, just starting League in general, right?
Yeah, League in general. They may be a gamer, but they're just getting into League.
Yeah, so the first thing would be, I'd highly suggest don't start the game by yourself. I think when starting this game nowadays, you really, really need to have at least one person, preferably a group. But you need someone else with you. Even if they're new as well, it would make the experience more enjoyable and you can stick to it and learn. Because if you go into it by yourself, you're versing all these Smurfs, you get smashed, you're going to want to quit. But if you're playing in a group, you're going to have a lot more fun. Even if you're losing, you're still going to have a lot more fun. So always try and get some friends along with the ride.
I think another big thing to keep in mind is to try not to get discouraged too early. It does take the game a little while to sort of determine where you are at as a player, and if you are a new player, it won't be long before you start versing new players as well. And that should make the experience much, much more easygoing. So, yeah.
Yeah. Bots are there for a reason. They're actually a fantastic tool, and honestly,
That's honestly how I learnt the game.
Yeah,
I played at least 900 bot games before I touched a single online game.
The quality of
remind me
bots
of
is
something.
big. What's that, Blooded?
There is a new bot system coming in, isn't there?
I think I remember hearing something about it.
I heard something about that they're going to be reworking bots to be a lot better, as in like more difficult, and a lot more smart, and they actually like do
a little
things
more human.
properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I mean, the
actually
bots
a really good experience for new players, I think.
definitely so. Yeah.
Because I actually think, bots are a great way to learn the foundations of the game.
Yeah.
Doesn't really overwhelm you too much, lets you sort of enjoy the game and get a feel for pacing. And then
have you guys also tried the tutorial in the last few years?
Yes, I've made.
I have actually.
I think they've actually done a good job at the tutorial.
I was going to add that. Yeah, I think it's.
Yeah.
I mean, if you guys remember the Ash ARAM tutorial where it instructed you to build Warmog's first, not Warmog's, Thornmail first item.
Thornmail.
I think they've come a long way from Thornmail Rush Ash to where they are now. And I think the way that they've created the free champions you get from the the missions and the quests kind of leading up to being able to play your first normal games, the scenarios they run through, where it has the mini in-game quests of farming, destroying towers, building items, looking at recommended. I think they've done a great job now of actually getting newer players on their feet and understanding the game a lot easier than build tank item Ash, you win game. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think they're doing a great job. On the point of don't get discouraged when learning this game, I always remember my first ever game of League of Legends. My mate thought, hey, I've been playing for a while, I can carry my friend in a normal game, you'll love this game, join. And I went 1-32 on Kale with absolutely no idea what I was doing. But the main thing I remember from that game is how absolutely gassed I got when I got that one kill. I died 32 times, but I got that one kill. I was basically throwing my laptop. Yo, did you see that I'm the best fucking League of Legends player? It was fucking cool, man. Like, you can find good moments in your losing games and in your first few games, and it definitely helps, like Blooded said, have friends around. And just remember, biggest thing, it is a game after all. You are playing it for fun and enjoyment. Do not take it too seriously unless you want to.
Mute chat.
I think part of the biggest magic for me getting into this game was all the just total random shenanigans that would like happen in your day-to-day games with friends, and you just have a good laugh out of it. Like, doesn't matter if the game goes well or not, you just have a really good time. So I think it's very easy to get jaded long term when you play the game a lot and you start to see less of these magic moments because you just know it all. But learning is kind of fun.
Yeah, it definitely is. And it's a wonderful game. For anyone that is in chat and thinking about getting into it, you will hear a lot of people saying they hate it or to uninstall it or the, blah, blah, blah. It's a wonderful game when you play it as a game with your friends. I've had 10 plus years now of memories with this game, and while they're bad, the good very heavily outweigh. And so I'm glad that I got into this, and I think that'll lead on to Zippo's next question for Blooded, actually.
I think it will. So I guess, do you ever regret the time you spent on League? Like, do you think it's made your life more positive than it would have been without it overall, or?
Well, people people have always said that it's like toxic, blah, 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 and all that. But like, we love the game. Like, we really love it. It's a love-hate relationship. But so I got no regrets, and personally for me, it's actually helped me a lot with different problems with me and whatnot, and a lot of other gamers. Just being able to stick to something and keep your mind off things, it really does help a lot of people, and it's helped me many, many, many times. So I love this game.
I definitely know many people who use this. I know a few autistic people who hyper focus and they use League as their, dive into and just ignore everything else. I know multiple friends who have struggled with depression and everything like that, and after a long day, all they wanted to do, despite how a game turned out, was jump onto League and just have some fun games with friends. I mean, me personally, it's helped me through a lot of those dark times. I've always kind of, had all these friends and made some wonderful friendships through this game. And I mean, two of my best friends right now I'm on a podcast with. Never met in real life, but can honestly say that, with all my heart, I love these dudes. And that's League, man. That's what it does. Yeah. And I think for so many people that don't game, they look at the fact that a game has spent 10 years on one game or a certain amount of money on it or whatever it might be. It doesn't matter. It's a hobby. It's something you love. So I'm with Blooded in saying that, like, I have no regrets with how long that I have spent on this game. And Zippo,
no, absolutely not.
I think you'd be the same.
I think, yeah, it was very defining in my life. So,
yeah. I mean,
no regrets.
Yeah. As much as we bag on the game for things that could be done better, every single game will have that, and I think League do a fantastic job, and I love this game. So
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Bloody brilliant. Alright, we have, for you, Blooded, another quick fire question.
Bring it on.
You have 5 seconds, once I say go, to choose one champion and one item that you are removing from the game. Are you ready? 5 seconds start now.
Fizz, Storm Surge.
Well, that was less than 5 seconds.
I hate those two things.
Do you want to elaborate just a little bit on this then?
Okay, well, Fizz is, in general, the most hated champion in the game.
Yep, there have been surveys done on. Yep.
His E is just not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All they have to do is increase the cooldown of his E, maybe buff his Q or something to make up for it, or something in other ways. But his E is just not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hate it so much. Storm Surge is getting better, but I still think it's quite strong on specific champions. Mm-hmm. And I'd rather items more versatile to everybody than just a specific few.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's overly strong on certain champions and then useless on others, making it a, like you say, very tailored item to those champions. And being such a strong item, kind of buffs those champions in a sense that they have this item they can choose from. But yeah, it is getting better, and hopefully it gets more better. What were you saying? Sorry, Zippo?
I was just going to say, I think somewhat underrated is the fact that it gives extra gold on kills.
Yeah.
If you manage to proc it, so...
Anything that gives, I mean...
That's if they die...
The snowball effect, underrated.
Yeah, I think it's either before or to the proc, is it? Is it to it as well, or just before?
It's before or to, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I thought it was before or to, but it might just be before, I'm not 100% sure.
I'm pretty sure if it procs and they die, yeah.
Might be wrong, but would be interested to check. Yeah, I mean, anything that gives gold, when Kleptomancy came out, everybody took it. Mm-hmm. When First Strike came out, when Treasure Hunter got introduced, at first people were like, it's only this much gold, but then it's a lot of free gold, man, and if you can get it early, it's so snowbally. And so, like you say, I don't know if I mentioned Collector either, when that item first came out, gold on kill. Every single rune or item or anything that's given gold on kill, super strong and super meta defying, and I think you pointed out it's really underrated on the Storm Surge that it has gold, which is just it's crazy to think that everything it does already, hey, have some gold on top of it, so yeah.
I mean, you really think about it, you're like recouping 200, 300 gold over the course of mid-game.
That's a kill.
Just by having the item. Yeah, exactly. It's quite literally another component.
Yeah. And then that pairing with Fizz.
Yeah. Does it give a bit? Because I don't use the item very much. Not play. I don't play with them. Does it give movement speed? from the
Yes.
It
burst?
does, yes.
Or
So
I'm so sick of everything
it
giving
gives
bloody
5%
movement
natural
speed.
MS,
Yep.
and yeah, I think it gives a 25% bonus once you proc it
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then,
for
then
2
it also
seconds.
has pen.
Yeah.
Why not, man?
Like, yeah, it's a lot of AP.
Yeah,
it's
it's a
got
pure
pen.
burst
It's got
item.
movement speed. It's got burst damage. It gives you gold. Like, it does
It's like
so much.
well, it's basically the APU moves in a way,
Yeah.
/ opportunity in a little,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. And that's kind of what it's meant to do, and I think it's fulfilled that niche pretty well.
Yep.
I just think it's probably a little bit too much on the strong side, that's all.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. We're on to our last question, and then one more quick fire after that. So, we've got: are you surprised that there's something Riot has not done? You know, something that you think is obvious, something that other games do really well. Is there something you think Riot hasn't done that they should have?
Yeah. So I got one definite, and then one that would be very hard to do. I don't know how they would do it, but I
Yep.
think it's a big problem. And that is, there is too many Smurfs. I don't know how they would be able to fix it, but I think the fact that people have 20 Smurfs is a problem.
That's fair.
I think they fixed that in China.
Coming from someone who has 8 Smurfs.
Yeah,
I think-
I've got multiple as well.
I think the Chinese server have that on lock with like their accounts have to go through their like mobile
Yes.
number or
Security
something,
numbers.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's a lot easier over there because it's kind of set up that way.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It would be hard to set up here, but like I think it's a big problem in the game
Yeah.
because like everybody does it. It's got a lot of Smurfs. They just go into a ranked game on their Smurf and they don't care. And it's a big problem because all the people that are trying to climb get shafted. Like
I think even adding mobile verification towards ranked would be a huge step in regards to fighting Smurfs and just people that don't actually care about ranked in general. I think once you tie your phone number to that account, you kind of care about it a lot.
yeah.
You'd think a little bit more.
Another other way is like people have said about banning IP addresses, but that could be
That way you get I think you
Not
start
really
getting a lot
feasible
of
for a game
problems
like
that
Riot
way.
to be doing.
No, but yeah, it's not an easy thing, and it's
company.
definitely something I've thought about as well. And again, like Zippo, I think I have 8 or so Smurfs, and as you know, as much as I hate to admit it, often on those Smurfs, if I'm playing alone, especially, and the game starts to go sideways, I have the chats turned off automatically because I get very, let's say, toxic. I don't like to be toxic, but when you're playing, especially in lower ranks, and people start typing you get frustrated. So I have to just turn chat off to, you know. But I will certainly start playing worse because it's my Smurf. I don't care, which is not a good attitude. My bad, but you know, I don't know what they can do about it because, like Blooded said, there's definitely people that abuse it to the fact that they will just leave the game and jump on another account and not care.
Yeah, like it's very toxic. But the other thing that I think that they need to fix, and they should have done it so many years ago, the client. Like the amount of bugs in this client is not okay.
Yeah.
The worst ones is when
I've been
you're playing
saying
ranked.
this since season 4?
Yeah, it's when they changed the client was when everything went down.
Yeah.
But the worst part is when you're in champ select for a ranked game, some sort of bug happens, you can't pick a champion, and it dodges, and it's not in your control.
Yeah.
And then like it's just so frustrating. The client. There's every patch there's a new bug.
Yeah.
Like
I think the
yeah,
biggest
they
issue
need to do
is,
something.
and I think it's a lot of things that I've said before, is so much of League's coding, and that's the client end game, is so spaghetti and so intricate from where it all came from that trying to fix a lot of these little bugs has the potential to just destroy the client, basically. And so I think they're kind of just like, let's just not blow up our game for a few bugs sort of thing. But you're not wrong. It is very, you know, frustrating.
Well,
Zippo-
they've tried and failed to deliver on a few client promises over the years, so I think they've sort of realized it's just a bigger undertaking than they're willing to do, really.
Mm-hmm.
And they can get away with it at the moment. They're not losing any revenue.
No, and I
People
think
still addicted to that game, so
that's the thing. While it is such a big frustration, we're all still here playing the game daily.
Yeah,
so
like
that's exactly right.
you know, as frustrating as it is, they know that fix it or not, we're still going to come back and play. Zippo, do you have anything then that you're surprised Riot hasn't done?
Truth be told, I'm surprised they haven't done anything a little more exciting with Clash.
Mm-hmm.
I think overall reception towards Clash has been pretty good, and obviously they're still working out kinks regarding server loads and whatnot, but I think it has a lot of potential to go somewhere much cooler in terms of rewards and incentives to play, and just even like kind of hosting like a finals stream of certain Clash,
I was
like
gonna
groups.
say,
I think it could be a really cool avenue for just some extra exposure. I think Riot would make a little bit of extra money off it, and I don't see why they're not.
I was going to say it would be quite cool to have, like, leading up to the end of a split or something, all the clashes working towards something, and then they have a hosted, top of every tier kind of
you kind of
clash
earn your
bracket,
seeding over the year,
and then they have a like genuinely just streamed and just online, and they just spectate the games or something, and you just kind of have these tournaments that are streamed of a tier 4 clash bracket of all the top teams that have performed on the leading up clashes sort of thing. I think it would be quite cool if they could do something with that, but
I just think it has a lot of potential, and I'm surprised it's been sort of left in the state it has been. But
The only
Right,
concern,
do have a lot of projects on their plate, so
the only concern with that is like if you're winning like all the different clashes through the year, and then you become in these finals to stream. If people can't make it because of life problems or whatever, then what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely kinks to work it out and stuff like that, but I think they
doing
could do
something
more.
with Clash definitely should happen.
Yep. We've got a question, but before we look at it, I just want to ask something that I thought is surprising they haven't done, and it's something that's been a topic for years, is voice comms in League. Is there a reason they haven't done it? Does anyone know? Is it something that devs have talked about? It's just toxicity, isn't it?
It's toxicity.
But you look at every other game, right? Like they have it as well, and you look at games, especially like CS:GO and shit like that are also known for being a toxic game. How do they kind of get away with it and League wouldn't?
Well, see, I think Riot's approach on this is very heavily weighted towards unfair advantages in solo queue. So if you have a team member who cannot use a microphone, you're innately at a disadvantage. Whereas if they keep it closed to everyone, they can sort of, monitor text chat, makes it easier to monitor bad behavior, and also sort of keeps everyone on the same playing field. And I think that's shown as well with how you're not allowed to duo above master tier anymore.
Hate that.
They kind of are tailoring it to be a more solo queue experience at the high level, and I think that's totally fine. Actually, I don't see a need to introduce voice chat.
Cool.
I can tell you right now, I probably wouldn't want to chat to half the people I play solo queue with ever.
I guess Discord's that easy to use that if you want voice comms, chuck a Discord link.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. There's always ways around it, and people will and do in high elo.
The thing is, they do technically have voice comms.
Yeah, the team chat.
But at that point, just use Discord.
Yeah. As Budget said, though, apparently they are reviewing the solo queue only above Masters, and I'm not sure if that was just for Master tier or for the entirety of above, but it's something they're looking at, which is interesting. So the question from Cuttlefish again, and it's super biased, he said, because from knowing who they are, he's had a few accounts banned, but he says, I think typing should have no outcome on bans and punishment systems. You can disable chat, that fixes the problem. All money should be put towards banning and punishing toxic play, inting trolls that you can't, disable. Because, like you said, if someone's toxic in chat, you mute it, whereas if someone's running you down, you just have to lose LP. What are your thoughts on that?
There's only one real big problem here, and that is the potential for false positives when it comes to punishing toxic play. Like, what defines toxic play? Did someone have a bad game because something happened in real life emotionally, or, like, you really can't tell sometimes. People just have a real shocking game out of nowhere, and you can sit there and be like, this guy's absolutely trolling.
Yeah.
I know we've all said it, this guy's inting, when they're absolutely not inting, they're just having a rough game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure many of us even report the guy at the end of the game. But look, I think at the end of the day, it's you kind of just can't ban someone for a false positive there, and that's why they're not eager to take on that approach. And I kind of agree with that. It would really suck to cop a ban on top of just having an absolute shocker of a league game, which you see happen to like the boss quite often. I know he gets temporarily banned quite a few times, just for inting.
Yeah, they do.
Even if he doesn't in, he still gets.
But with the point of not getting banned for typing, do you agree with that? Yeah,
There has to be some sort of punishment because there are certain things that you just should never say.
Yeah.
Look, I think it doesn't take much to be a semi-decent human being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just in any of your interactions. I tend to fight back sometimes, fire with fire, but for the most part, I tend to take on the approach of treat everyone with just a little bit of respect, basic respect. It doesn't need to be putting them up on a fucking pedestal up here, but just treat them like a normal human being because that's literally what they are. And I don't see why that's so hard for a lot of people. I understand it can be an emotionally taxing game, but I think everyone should strive to have some sort of self-control.
Yeah, I think while you're pointing out the topic, Benster, or Cuttlefish for those that don't know him as Benster, that they're wasting all this money on chat bans and stuff because you can simply mute the chat. I think just because you can mute the chat doesn't give the reason for anyone to be toxic. It's just like in real life. Obviously, you can do things to avoid bullies, but it doesn't give bullies the reason to be a bully, right? And regardless of the fact that it's a video game and it's just text on a chat and it's people just getting frustrated, I don't think anywhere in life, like Zippo said, there's any need to be a piece of shit human. So if you feel the need to flame in chat and you say horrible things, you deserve the punishment for the horrible things. So I don't think I agree with removing bans from chats. I think there's a lot of things people get wrongly banned for. Obviously, you can frustratedly type, and a lot of things that people say aren't actually directed. They're not bullying. They're not horrible. They're just them typing frustratedly. And I think people get wrongly banned for chat. I think they're too hard on it, but I don't think you can remove it at all. I think people definitely need to be fucking decent humans.
Yeah, imagine the game in there, like, if there was no punishment. The chat would be so toxic.
Yeah.
It would be unbearable.
At that point, the number one advice for League of Legends would be mute all every single game. Like, it really would be. Because it's kind of already verging on...
Yeah. And
on that line between acceptable and not really acceptable.
It's sad to think
for a lot of people.
It's sad to think that, and we've all said it tonight, what's some advice to give? Mute chat. It's a bit sad that that's one of our pieces of advice, would you not think? When communication in a team game is vital for winning, one of our bits of information, one of our, topics is turn off communication. It's a bit sad that that's one of our tips when the game is so solely around. Because when you have a good game and you have your chat, your team pinging correctly, typing well, communicating well, it's a whole other element to the game that feels so good. And when it's nice, it's good. It's just sad that there is so much toxicity in the chat that a lot of the time the advice is to just completely cut off an entire element of the game for you to enjoy the rest of it.
I still remember the very first time I ever hit Challenger, Season 3, struggling all the way through Diamond 1, absolute sweat fest. First Challenger game, like 1k LP players, just all these big names, I was pissing myself, really. And it was the most chill game I'd ever experienced. People were typing and communicating super smoothly. I found it really easy to keep up, just because everyone was so efficient and, like, respectful. Everyone knew each other, so there's no reason to sort of create issues. And it was just a really interesting experience. Literally my first ever game in Challenger, and I think we had a complete dance party around Herald at like 5 minutes in. Just all 5 from both teams, just up there dancing.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time I've done one of those in many years.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I don't think I've had games like that for probably since season 3.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
There used to be a lot more jokes back in the day. People played it for fun a lot more.
Yeah, there was a bit more emphasis on fun and a little bit less ego, I think.
Yeah, definitely so. Ego has gone out the roof for some players.
And people hit a certain rank and they think they're just the best.
Yeah.
Everyone else.
Yeah, and honestly, I think the addition of Emerald rank has also really made that a big thing, you know? Because people going from Platinum to Diamond, it used to be the issue. And now they've introduced Emerald, which is worse than all of, you know, it's a lower rank than the Diamond. And it was already bad enough where these D4 people were starting to get big egos. Now when people hit Emerald, they're starting to get these egos. And it's just like, you are still not good at this game enough to be this cocky. You know? Like, yeah. Cuttlefish is the best player ever. Just facts. Ego. What are you, Plat? Shut up. No, I'm kidding!
Wow.
Kidding. Shit. So it's Masters and Flames, everyone, huh? My bad.
Exactly my point.
Alright, stream's cancelled. See you later. No, very good. Alright. We have one more question for you, Blooded. It's a quick fire question.
This is the most important question.
Yeah, we have saved it to last because this matters most how you answer it with, you know, a lot of things. I'm going to let Zippo ask it, but before he asks it, it's no specific time frame or anything. It is just as simple as the question is he asks you. Zippo, take it away.
It's a big one.
Okay.
Who's the better League of Legends player? Suho or me?
Suho.
Oh yeah! Oh, suck it, Zippo!
Nepotism at its finest, 100%. I'm sure.
The PayPal's coming, Blooded.
You have hit higher rate, sure, but I haven't seen anything in the last few years to indicate anything at the moment. I'm not saying you definitely have potential to be better. I just haven't seen it.
Okay. You're telling me I gotta settle down and grind. Okay.
Yes.
No, he has more time. Don't tell him to do that because he will fuck me.
Well, prove me wrong then, Zippo. I'd love to see it.
I was gonna say, now that you've said that, I have to. So
Good.
it's not personal, Jake.
The challenge has been issued.
I just have to be better than you.
On this note of having to be better, I have played League obviously since like season 2. My younger brother picked the game up from me once he kind of got of age, and he got very good at the game very quickly. At one point I remember I was sitting silver because I had not touched the game, and he got up to plat, and me being here like, I've played this game so long, this is not okay. I stopped going to school for a week just to play League to get higher rank than him. I was not allowing him to be lower than me. And very recently he has started playing again, and while I was sitting kind of, you know, D4, D3 at the start of the season, not playing a lot, he got higher than me, and that's what sparked me to grind for the last week or so, and so I went straight to Masters just to be higher than
There's nothing like a bit of healthy sibling competition.
I refuse to let him be better than me. Not that he's not. He's a very talented player, but yeah, it's one of those things where it's just like, it really pushes you honestly to have that kind of that banter and that challenge with someone. Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, Blooded, you answered the last question correctly, so we will let you live.
You're never coming back.
I think if I was to put my 2 cents in on the question, I think Zippo in his entire career has been a better player. Because I was thinking about this, so I think obviously Zippo's had higher peaks. He's been I would say a more skilled player. Although it was at a time where I think League was easier, so take that how you will.
I was going to say, I'm not sure you can even compare the two.
No, but I do think recently, without sounding like a cocky piece of shit, based on just how much more I've played and the ranks I've hit recently compared to you, I would like to say I'm at the moment a better player. But by all means, yeah, if Zippo put some time into this game again and really sat down and grinded, there is nothing stopping him from,
it probably also
up.
benefits you that I have role swapped 3 times in the last.
I have swapped back and forth between AD and support. Thank you very much. And yes, every time I ADC, I low rank,
role.
and
effectively the same role. And
same lane, but very different role.
Who's been on more pro teams in the last year?
You can apply certain things from the other side of the lane in that lane.
Yeah, definitely so.
You kind of learn a bit playing both sides of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a benefit
I guess,
there.
End of the day, in the grand scheme of things, both of us suck shit compared to most people at League that are good.
I hate to say it, I'm just old. I'm old and I don't put in the time anymore. So.
Yeah, bro, it's...
You know what you have to do, and then you try to do it, and something goes wrong, and you're sitting there going, that Master Uguay thing, How? I don't know. Hands just didn't do the thing, I guess.
Yeah. It's definitely... I mean, you look back at your years when you were a teenager, or you weren't working full time, or you lived at home, and it was just... no relationship, nothing like that. You got home and you played League, and you just played League. And
16 hours a day on this game. Yeah. Easily.
I remember.
No worries.
I remember, staying up all night and just playing it because, school tomorrow. Rock up, who cares, sort of thing, just play League.
Oh, I went to uni and slept through my lectures.
Yeah.
I had my partner at the time wake me up at the end of each lecture so I could go to the next class.
Yeah, it definitely as you get older. I want to, just while we're on the topic of age now, do you think age, obviously I think it affects you a little bit, but do you think it affects you to the exaggeration that it's often portrayed as, once you get to your 24, 25, you become, as they say, ancient with gaming?
My personal opinion may differ from quite a few people's here, is that age doesn't so much impact you game-wise physically as much as it does your mental drive for the game. I think when you're a bit younger and you're fresh into the game, you're a little bit more passionate inherently, more eager to learn. You've just got a little bit more drive going for you. When you kind of get a bit older, you've been playing this game for a bit longer, you learn to sort of detach yourself from it a little bit, I think, just to sort of preserve mental health. And I think like Faker is a very clear example of, like, most people would think he is relatively old for a gamer, professional.
How old is he now? Let's have a look. He's 27, so he would be definitely getting up there and is what people would call old.
So I'm 28, and I would be considered old in the scene. And I personally don't really feel that. It's just I don't put aside the time that I used to put aside to keep fresh with this game anymore.
Yeah.
And I think this is very, like, it's been super obvious with some of the best pros of all time. Like, we've got, like, Double Lift, Bjergsen, Faker, who actually had very well established careers and never really fell off. They, if anything, sort of just got better. Like, slowly more refined. But you also just noticed their drive for the game slowly dropped until they sort of stopped playing. Not in Faker's case, and I don't know if it ever will in Faker's case. Guy is a machine.
They will have to claw his dead body off of the keyboard. I think he will die at the.
He found
computer.
his passion and he nailed it. So
and you cannot deny that he is. Okay. Again, another quick question because we're on the topic and because I'm curious. Greatest player of all time, Faker? Yes or no?
Yeah. I know it's like the common answer and all that, but I think it is just the clear answer.
And on that note, do you think there is anybody close that you can kind of think of that defines League or as much as Faker has?
No one will ever reach that point, but I think there is one player in my mind that has the potential but always chokes internationally, and that's Chovy. I think the way he controls waves and farms all that, he always has the potential to be the best because he's always so far up in gold. But
Well,
he
Faker
always
has
chokes in international.
explicitly stated that Chovy's better at laning than he is.
Yeah.
But that his team facilitates him to sort of negate that in a way.
Yeah, and I think...
And Chovy doesn't have that benefit. And it's something to think about too when it comes to a 5v5 professional setting. Obviously, if you are the slightly more dominant laner, but your team in general has less pressure on the map, it's much harder to do what you're wanting to do. So it's not even choking in a way, it's sort of just being put up against a really, really tough standard.
International, though, he always underperforms than what he does in the normal splits.
I would agree with that.
But I would, it's never going to happen, but I would love to see Chovy play an SKT over Faker for a few games. I'd actually be really curious to see, how that would go, having a super competent team with him.
I think
Faker's communication.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Faker's knowledge and how much he brings to SKT. I mean, I know he was replaced when he had his injury, and I know the mid laner that replaced him wasn't exactly Chovy level of a mid laner, but you could see how big of an impact not having Faker there showed on SKT.
Yeah.
You know, they shit the bed, and so I think
is
I don't think you can replace Faker with just a mechanically insane person, because what he brings to any team, even if he wasn't on SKT or what is now just T1, is just far superior to than any micro a player could bring.
Yeah, it'll still be curious to see if that did
Definitely
happen.
so. Yeah. Yeah.
Fun to think about.
It is. All right. Well, I don't think that there's anything else chat has questioning for us. We've finished all of our questions. Blooded, do you have anything to ask, or do you think we've covered most things?
I can't
Pretty
think
well.
of anything at the moment. I'd just like to say I appreciate you guys letting me be here. It was really fun and enjoyable.
Always,
It was
man.
very nice to have you.
Yeah, it was quite fun to have another
Except for
voice
the
on
part
here.
where you said Suho.
You know what? You can come back because of that, Blooded. You can come back. No, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here. It's good to see that having a guest podcast kind of every now and then goes quite well. So we will be looking forward to having more guests. Apparently, you're the worst guest ever until Cuttlefish. I mean, exactly. I was gonna say, you're also the best we've ever had. So, wear that crown, man. But no, it's been an absolute pleasure. You're a great sport. Answered the questions beautifully. We really appreciated you being here. As for everybody else that watched, we love and appreciate the support as